All right, Justin, can you believe it's what's today's date?
It is currently January 13th.
It's January 13th. The Coffee Time crew and audience will listen to this on the 14th.
Hmm.
Dude, it's nearly half of January and we're doing our first podcast together in 2021.
I know, right?
Isn't that crazy? But hello everyone, welcome back to Coffee Town Podcast. Hope that the new year is going great for you guys and all the continued madness that we're experiencing with everything that Justin talked about on Monday. That's all I'm gonna say, man. Hey Justin, how are you, dude?
I'm doing good. This news is still going on, so definitely on Monday I'm gonna have a lot to talk about. So if y'all enjoyed Monday's cast, you're really gonna like this following Monday's cast.
Oh man, you're gonna ruffle some feathers.
Oh yeah, I always like to ruffle some feathers, but it creates conversation when I do. So.
Yeah. So and I like that. So you guys know how we get down here. Monday is Hot Podcast News. That is Justin's segment. Thursday is the Hot Podcast crew. Like thirst for knowledge. We're in the know. We're not woke. So let's answer a question together, okay? So on today's episode, Justin, I put this out on a social media post. Did you like that graphic, by the way?
Yeah, that was dope actually.
Thank you, thank you. I'm trying to do a little better in 2021. But today's question, well, this week's question of the week is, let's say, okay, do you think the world will be a better or worse place 100 years from now? What you got
Um,
for me?
so I think honestly it's gonna get worse before it gets better because I honestly think that we're repeating history right now. I've always liked the quote, like, if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it, and I feel like that's happening right now. One thing that I've started noticing ever since, last year is a lot of, like, let's just say streaming services and stuff have started segregating a lot of content for, oh, black only voices, or hey, these different things are just for black actors that are featured in it, black leading roles. I'm like, why do we have to do that? Like, why isn't it just, hey, here's, action movies? Like, why do we have to separate into categories? Because if we're the opposite, white only, that would have a major issue. So it's like we're repeating what we got away from years ago during the Civil Rights Act. Like, why are we segregating things again? And then right now, of course, on Monday I talked about how Twitter had permanently banned Trump, and I'm like, so why are we taking away speech now? We're taking away speech. This new administration that wants to come in wants to start taking away certain rights when it comes to gun ownership. And I'm like, are we just backpedaling all the progress we have made over these years? And it's an actual concern of mine because I'm like, okay, we're already segregating things to where, like, even at schools, like, okay, well, we have these black only, like, organizations, or like these things that are for, oh, you want to do like a study group, this is only for this minority, this and that. I'm like, why are we going back to that thing instead of creating diversity together? And I feel like that's a major thing that's been happening. There was actually a video that came out where Biden was talking about like how he wants to help the minority businesses grow again, like black owned business, Asian owned business. They're going to be the priority, but any white owned business, they're not even going to like focus on them. Like, how is that like diverse, and how is that, equal to everyone? Like,
Did he
it should
literally
matter.
say white-owned businesses?
Yes,
Wow,
yes.
wow.
And that's the thing. I'm like, how is this okay? Like, how is, like, if Trump had said any of this speech, he would be like condemned. And I'm just like, are we just allowing this now? Like, are we allowing like censorship of people with opposing beliefs? Are we allowing certain rights to be taken away, or like government taking a role to be like, hey, we're not going to allow this anymore? So that's why I'm like, in 100 years, I'm sure we're going to be in a good place again, but I feel like we're going backwards in history with a lot of this stuff to where it's like we progressed this far just for us to go back to things that we know don't work, to where we can't segregate people, where we can't put certain people on a pedestal and neglect others. Like, we all have to be on equal footing, especially in 2021 where we're all supposed to be equal. Like, how are you treating one group better than another just because of what systematically happened in the past. Like, let the past be in the past and let's work toward our future.
And let's grow
So,
from it, huh? That's what you're
yeah,
saying.
like, because the thing is, like, okay, well, we know, like, whenever you do this stuff, it doesn't work, so why are we trying it again? Why are we saying in 2021, oh, well, we have to still believe that a certain group is oppressed or they're victims or whatever? I'm like, why? Why in this dang age where we do have equal opportunity, we do have systems in place to prevent that? Why are we going back to that?
Well, I get what you're saying. We do have equal opportunity, but we have the opportunity to choose equal opportunity in a way
Hmm.
and stuff like that. Dude, I think you get a bad rap. Honestly, I think the Monday show and people that watch it and the audience, like we get a lot of listens on the podcast, very few views, but I think you get a bad rep in a way of because you you're labeled as a Trump supporter and
Hmm.
it hurts your like your profile in a way because just what people see Trump and they see what the media puts out of like what a Trump supporter is. But dude, you're brown pride. You're a Mexican saying that hey, we should support all businesses. Like you're
Yeah,
not
like,
looking at hey, I'm colored, I'm brown proud, so we should just focus on my race or that other race that's been neglected and forget the I'm just gonna say the white businesses as if Biden actually said that. That's pretty shocking actually. But
yeah, because that's
yeah,
the thing. Like, it shouldn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, you're a person. Like, it shouldn't like matter like your sexual orientation. Like, who gives a shit? If you just so happen to be gay, that shouldn't be like who you are. Or if you just so happen to be a Republican, that shouldn't be who you are. Like how you're known. That's just another thing about like. It's not like the thing that defines me is, oh, I play guitar, I'm a guitar. No, like I'm, this person that, works in the military, does this, does that. Like those are just things that I do. That's not who I am though.
I got
And
you.
that's
I feel
yeah.
like look, so I'm gonna steer this podcast back to the
Yeah,
question
yeah, yeah, of
because I
course, of
feel
course.
like we could definitely talk about like equality, segregation, and other terms that have been like very fancy and trendy words in the political world in the
Mhm.
sphere of that on a later podcast. But let me just take the wheel for a second. All right.
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
So when I read this question, worst place 100 years from now. So we're looking forward. What would that be? So we're 2021 at a one into it. That's 2121, right?
Mhm.
So what's the world going to be in 2121? So I was like, history repeats itself, right? If you don't
Mhm.
know it, if you don't learn from it, there's this little thing called insanity. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, but you're getting the same thing. It's kind of like being in an abusive relationship or eating like 40 cakes or cheesecakes before going to bed and being like, I'm going to lose weight. Wait, show it off for the
What's
crowd.
up, dad bod? Ugh.
You're so silly, dude. But yeah, so it's insanity what's going on. So I was like, hold up. So to answer this question correctly, let me look what happened 100 years ago.
Mhm.
Do you know what happened 100 years ago?
That was around the time it was, I believe, like I want to say
One major
eight.
event happened, dude.
Tell me.
Okay, it was the so let me look at my notes here. It was the Tulsa race massacre. It took place May 31st and June 1st, 1921
Oh yeah.
in Oklahoma,
Mhm.
where white mobs that were given guns by city officials to attack black residents and businesses and in the Greenwood district in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I'm going to remove that's etched in history. We're gonna. It was the race massacre. It's a terrible thing. I think we can all agree, me and you, because we
Yeah,
differ on things,
for
but
sure.
that was just a terrible event and
Yeah.
everything. But let's remove some stuff here. So we know that it was a race massacre, right? But let's
Mhm.
remove race. It was just people, mobs, rioting and attacking other people based off a skin color. right? Their
Mm-hmm.
race. In 2021, we have people, well, 2020 and 2021, we have people attacking and rioting based on political views, race, and basically, well, yeah, it's the left or the right. I don't know if it's black or white. That's always said that we're being targeted, and I'm being targeted. The proverbial us, as in colored people, you are in that group as well, is being targeted. But you look at the numbers and everything like that, and it
Mm-hmm.
says otherwise, and things like that. And I just feel like history is definitely repeating itself. Like
Yeah.
when I read this question, better or worse, but you look at like that bad situation that happened May 31st, 1921, and you apply it to the riots and the protests and the storming of the Capitol building and everything of 2020 and 2021,
Mm-hmm.
it's not as bad, you know.
Yeah.
George Floyd thing was pretty horrible, but it's not as bad. It wasn't a massacre or anything like that. But we're still repeating events and we're not learning from it.
Yeah.
So if we haven't learned in 100 years from 1921 and now it's 2021, I think it's just, I don't think it's going to be a better or worse place because we can focus on the massacres and the negatives of what happened in 2020 and what's going on right now in 2021 and be like, the world's a terrible place. But there's so many good things that also happened in 2020. And I believe that there's going to be great things that come out of 2021. And I feel like it's just going to remain the same, and but we will still have technical advancements, AI advancements. People will learn and grow and mold together, and everything like that. Everyone wants an instant result of a way like, oh, we shouldn't be racist or we shouldn't be this and everything like that. It's a generational thing. It
Mm-hmm.
takes time to cycle this out, and we look back 100 years ago. I'm a black man. I think I can say this clearly. 1921, there was more racism in the world. That isn't, or let's just focus on the United States. The world's different. In the United States in 1921 than there is, and I've experienced racism. I was born in it in Florine, Louisiana, than there is in 2021. Because if I just look back on my life, I was born 1994. My earliest memory is when I was like around like 5 or 6, so that's 99, 2000. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember being like just pointed at and talked about because I'm on lighter skin than black people, and I was pointed out to be like a half breed or a mix, or whatever they called me, coon and skunk or pan, stuff like that, and others I was mistreated, but I don't be treated like it's a whole different thing now in 2020 and 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I compare just those 20 years of growing up and seeing how people have treated me when they got to know me and like the positions that I've allowed myself in, not because of my race, but because of who I've become and what like the drive of me, it's a better place now. So it will be better. I believe so. But in the grand scheme of things, I believe we're just going to stay around the same margin because change doesn't happen like you were saying. You said um, when you were discussing the changes are like the freedom of speech, and we should be very concerned about this because it seems like they're just doing this to this one person, i.e., our president currently, because it's not the when is the inauguration, the 20th?
20th, yes.
Yeah, so our current president right now, his freedom of speech is being infringed on because of Facebook and Twitter, and I think he actually got his Twitter back, right?
No, it's still
No,
permanently banned. Yep.
and you were saying that like, hey, it starts like this, where they start with one person, and then next thing you know, you're proud of it, you're happy because of some things that you disagree with this public figure, and the next thing you know, they do it to you.
Yeah.
Change doesn't happen in waves, in big waves. It's inch by inch. Those inches turn into feet. Those feet turn into meters. I don't have to go into the whole fucking metric system for our audience, but that I think that's for the good and the bad. Good
Yeah.
change doesn't happen overnight. It can in certain situations, but it's usually by like you take one step or a half step, or you think about taking that step and you work towards it. And this like this some of our problems with communication, with censorship, um the great divide between the right and the left. I believe it's just a generational thing. And through the years, and from 2021 to 2121, right?
Hmm.
We will grow and be better, but it will look in the grand scheme of things like we're still in the same place. That's what I'm trying to get
Yeah.
out. That's what I was
Yeah.
trying
Because
to trying
I
to say.
think technologically we're going to be in a better place for sure in 100 years. Technology has come a long way. I think one of the burdens right now is, we have become a lazy society, with the advancements of technology and how social media works and how the actual media works. We've become very reluctant to go out of our way to learn different things. I think that's why there's a huge disconnect between both political spectrums. That we just read the headlines instead of saying, okay, well, let's question this headline. Let's read the story and really like form our own opinion, other than like, oh, this celebrity says, this was said, so I agree with it now, instead of, well, did he say that? Let me look into it. Let me do further research so I could formulate my own opinion. Because a lot of the people I follow, or a lot of the sites I look at when it comes to my information, I never am just like, oh, this is word of law. I'm like, okay, well, I read this. Let me read another source from a different type of format. Like if it's a left leaning or a right leaning, I like to look at both and see, okay, well, where do they differ and where does the truth lie? And so I think before we could like start like unity, whatever, like we need to stop being so closed-minded and start doing conversations like me and you do. And every Monday cast, I always talk about like how it's good that me and you both have different opinions when it comes to many topics, but at the same time, we're able to discuss them. It's never like, oh no, you're wrong, we're not going to talk to each other, screw you type shit. And it's never a gotcha moment. It's always just let's create a conversation and see, where we can come together and where we just don't agree, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's a weird world that we live in a way. Because I was
Hmm.
thinking about this. I went on a hike with a mutual friend of. Well, I don't. What, have you ever met Dan?
Yeah, I've met Dan before.
Okay, okay. Well, he's more of, my friend. I think you've only spoke to him
Yeah, in passing, yeah,
a
for
number of
sure.
times. Well, I don't want to speak for Dan, but this is just my opinion of Dan. Dan is an interesting individual where he can be. I believe he's like liberal but left leaning,
Hmm.
and I really hope I'm giving him justice here. I don't want to like just label him something, but in my opinion, believe he's liberal left leaning, and he's a Californian. Big
Yeah,
shocker that he leans to the left, right?
yeah,
Like, and I'm not saying it in a negative way. I'm just saying he's in California.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but he's such an interesting character because I have plenty of Californian friends where we spoke about politics, and you can't say one thing that will even insinuate that you believe in something that leans to the political right without them
Hmm.
being angry or whatever. And this is the same way on the right. I have some friends in Arizona, and that are is a mix. But didn't Arizona turn blue this election?
Yes, it turned blue.
Yeah, but I have a lot
Oh,
of
okay.
political right friends in Arizona, and you say anything about a position that could be considered leaning to the left or like a policy, they get extremely mad as well. So
Hmm.
it's not the left or the right, it's just the person. And I
Yeah.
feel like between you, Dan, and Thomas, I can say anything, and we have that respect for each other's opinion where it's just an opinion, and we don't have to insult each other's intelligence in a way
Yeah.
where it's very unique to talk to someone about politics and it doesn't become an argument or a heated debate. It's just two individuals exchanging words. This little word called communicating. just communicating, and there's no censorship, or I can say something like I don't know, like I can say Trump, and I know Thomas and Dan's not gonna get mad. If I mention Trump with some other of my friends, just the word Trump, or like I'm just like I don't even finish, like it goes. I'm like, dude, I'm like, what is? And I have right friends as well that is more that are more right than you, which is shocking. But, yeah, I gotta fuck with you, dude.
I'm not
Um,
that far right, I believe.
I know. I like busting your balls sometimes.
Yeah.
That if I say anything about Biden or what he proposed, they're just like, "Oh," I'm like, "Dude, why can't we just
Yeah.
talk about this?" And I really hope in this, if the question of the day, we have this 100-year period where you see ourselves a better or worse place. I hope we can learn to actually communicate in a better way, because like, you know, I was asked, "What is your podcast about?" I'm like, "It is a podcast where you could go on there with me or Justin and actually communicate and not feel like you have to censor yourself in
Hmm.
that whole conversation. You can say anything that you want. You could talk about the abuse of the N word. I'm not gonna say it because our audience and
Yeah,
everything
the
like
audience
that.
then will get restricted by.
Yeah, yeah, we're already getting kicked off of Apple Podcasts all the time. But shout out to Apple, whatever. But like we can talk about the N word, and I'm not gonna get upset because I really want to understand your point in it and why you feel like the word should be loosely used or it should not be used at all. I have some
Hmm.
friends that say that the word shouldn't be used at all, which is I can completely respect that. And I have some words that every time that they call some friends that every time they call me, they're like, N word, what's up? Like, it's just a
Yeah.
casual term and everything. Like, those people are black, by the way. You know,
Well, you do allow one white guy.
one white guy. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I don't allow. Look, it's not like I don't put rules on it. I don't. I'm not the judge
Yeah,
and
you're.
executioner of
Yeah,
what comes out
yeah,
of your
that's
mouth.
true.
You control anything that you
Yeah, you
say.
have the freedom to say it, but you got to also deal with the
Yeah,
repercussion.
but if you think like, hey, I shouldn't say this word because I don't want to disrespect or make
Yeah,
my friend feel uncomfortable, then that's your choice. And
yeah,
like
yeah, for
that's
sure.
what like I was explaining. They're like, so what is Coffee Time Podcast about? I'm like, it's really just a podcast where you can go on and we propose a question each week, and we highlight news that is being overlooked, or we provide a different angle,
Hmm.
and there's no censorship on it, and there's no like you can't say this, or hey man, we shouldn't really talk about that. You say it, and you're your own judge and your executioner and your jury
Yeah.
on Coffee Town Podcast. But
Yeah, and a lot of it is also, we want to teach or give the like correct knowledge, or what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
knowledge.
so like,
You want to give
let's say,
unbiased facts? That is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
yeah, like unbiased facts. Like if someone says, "Oh, well, we can't have, automatic weapons in every citizen," I could come in and be like, "Well, technically, we don't have automatic. We have semi-automatic." So
Yeah,
it's an education. Like we
yeah,
also, that's the word I was looking for. We also try to educate, and we educate each other on a lot of things. Like Captions has educated me on certain topics when it comes to like race, things that I've never experienced, or things that he's gone through, and I'll educate him on like things about guns or even politics. Like I'll tell him like, hey, if he comes oh well, Trump said this about Mexicans, I was like, no, he actually said this, and it's about this group. So it's always an education thing because we're never just cutting clips just to cut clips, just so we can paint a narrative. We show you the full, uncensored, actual documentation. We list our sources. With the video I did about the 2020 flashback, I left those not really unedited, but I just kind of like made it to where like these are the words they said. It wasn't
yeah.
just clip by clip by clip.
hmm All right, man. Well, that will do it for today's podcast. You have any last words for our audience? What do you have today?
Yeah, this is just to teach my daughter about proper firearm safety. I do encourage, even if you're not a gun proposed person, to teach, firearm safety to those around you. It is important. But going away thing, as far as 100 years from now, I have hope. I mean, even with this new administration coming in, there's always going to be something of hope. And I'm not going to judge right off the cuff because I did that with Trump and I was completely wrong. So hopefully I'm wrong about Biden. Um, but we need to learn to communicate with each other. And again, I always invite people, if you have a different belief from myself or even captions, comment below. Instagram, we have Facebook. Like, find us on our email as well, and create these conversations with us. Again, we just want to start these conversations. We're not looking to argue. We're not looking to debate. We're not looking to, oh, you're stupid. Here's the real stuff. It's always conversation.
Well said. I think you said it all, man. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Please share the podcast, subscribe, and all the great stuff. We have